Good evening, niggas. Good evening, hoes. It is 4 minutes to 7 o'clock. Uh, just got done with the order. And I had something that I never really talked about in depth. I've talked about this subject, I've brought it up a few times. And I may have not expressed it in a way that how I feel truly about this subject. Um, you know, it's the word square. And there's a lot of words that may mean one thing but have a different meaning. You know, sort of like a double entendre, as you might say. And there may be a few words on this channel that I might talk about and I might get into, but just for, I guess you could call this episode 1 of words that people describe you as, or maybe it's just me, but one of them is the word square. And the word square is a very ordinary, everyday, plain word. You know, you might not just get it right away. Some people call you a square as in you're like a nerd or you're a geek or whatever. But the other meaning of square is the shape. And you know, it's just a everyday word that describes things like, you know, like that doorknob over there. You know, the keyhole is a square. You know, or that, you know, that trash can over there, the lid looks like a square, or the lid is shaped in a square. But in the black community, when somebody calls you a square, you're basically a nerd or a geek, or you're just a nigga that people evidently don't find cool or whatever. And as a adolescence, this is what I was called, you know, by black women. Or not even just black women, I would say light-skinned women. Either I'm a square, or the other one being I'm just a tall ass nigga. But the main thing that they called me was a square. And it used to bother me growing up. I'm not gonna lie. Because when you're a square, right, in the black community, that basically means like people don't really fuck with you like that. You ain't a hood nigga. You a nigga that is not near the level of a hood nigga. And you don't really have any qualifications on becoming a real nigga. You know, that's like damn near an insult to some degree, because you don't really have, like, let's say, credentials in your community. You know, but as I got older, the word square, it just means a smart guy, a guy that you know things. You know, because when you in the hood, or when you're in the black community, the nigga that knows how to read, knows how to write, good at math, you're good at like calculus or whatever, you have good grades, you know, you're always succeeding in school, you're always asking questions, you know, you get along with your teacher, all that shit. in the black community, or just even just around niggas in general, you're considered a square because you're not like every other nigga. And this is my, or it's been one of my problems growing up, is that if you don't think like most black people, niggas ain't gonna fuck with you. You know, some people or most people are gonna write you off, and it's kind of like a saying, we can't be together if we don't think together, or we can't be alike if we don't act alike, or if we don't think alike. And with niggas, it's like, if you think alike, you're gonna get along great, you know. But if you're just different, and even if you don't necessarily fit that whole like, I need to be a hood nigga, or I need to be a fuck nigga type of role, you might not be called a square, but you might just be called, a weird nigga. And I'd say those two things are damn near on the same level. Being called a weird nigga and being called a square nigga. You know, if you're called a cool nigga nowadays, obviously you're not a square and you're socially accepted amongst your peers, you know. But if you are a square, it's gonna be really hard and challenging to really get to know other people, you know, inside your own race. And I took it as an insult, and I just didn't really fit in with like niggas, you know. And some niggas nowadays, I say most niggas are smart, you know. It's just if you take it to a degree of where you're doing really good in school, a lot of people, you know, who just have regular ordinary lives in the hood are not really gonna fuck with you like that, you know. And as a child, I used to get bothered by this, but I had to wake up and face the like reality and tell myself, why do I really care about what a bunch of niggas in the hood think about? I mean, let's be real. Most niggas stay in the same environment for the whole damn lives. They're not doing shit. If I go to my hood right now and I pull up to most of my friends' houses, you know, or most of the niggas that, you know, were hood famous, they're still in the same damn place they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it's kind of like their opinion doesn't matter, you know. It doesn't validate or facilitate anything that you're doing in life, you know. And who knows, for most niggas, they're perfectly fine with being a square, you know. They don't care if they're socially accepted or not by their peers, because they have better things to do in life, and they think smarter, or they use their resources compared to other people. But I say when it comes to women, it's kind of especially hard because as a black man, you know, in your infancy years, elementary, adolescence, you know, most of the time you're like your first love is gonna be black women, you know. Any nigga born, you know, up until like from birth until I say elementary or when they're in their teen years, most niggas love black women. But when niggas are changing, right? When you're just starting to become an adult, when you're different from everybody else that plays sports Black women evidently might not fuck with you like that, and that's perfectly fine. But it's embarrassing, man, when you don't realize it too late that your own race of women have been giving you signs for a long time, but some niggas just can't pick up on it, you know. They still think, man, I gotta do this and I gotta do that to impress this female. I have to dress a certain type of way and I have to act a certain type of way. And maybe then she'll like me. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter really what scenario you make up in your head, because I'll say it like this. When you're a young ass nigga and you try things, there's not really anything you could do, you know. And most niggas, they don't realize this. They realize it too late, but it doesn't matter what you do to really impress a black female, bro. Like, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's if she likes you for you, or if she likes you for other things, and or your status. Those three things that I just talked about, whether she likes you, your status, or your, I guess, personality, like, if she doesn't like you for those three things, then I suggest you move on to a different race of female. But, you know, black women especially, they don't like square niggas. They don't, because, you know, their ideal type is the nigga that slung yay on the corner, you know, gets them pregnant by like 3 to 4 different babies and shit. Like, I've talked about this on this channel numerous times, you know. So I don't want to go all in depth with that, but black women have never liked square niggas or niggas that are just smart in general. And I talked about this in my previous video about how they don't like smart, intelligent black men, or just the world in general. And, you know, for the sole purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk about the community. But like I said, man, people are going to look at you weird and you're not really going to be accepted, you know. Even though, let's be real, being smart is not a bad thing, you know. And when I mean smart, I don't mean, I do mean doing good in school, but outside of school and all of that shit, like, I also mean like street smarts, and you're somewhat conscious, or you're conscious of the decisions that you do and make on a daily basis, you know. You're aware of your surroundings, and I don't really like to use the word conscious, but I would just say you're pretty self-aware. And a lot of people that have been through a lot of things, they don't get it right away, but it's usually until something bad happens to them, or they just keep on repeating the cycle, like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and nothing really changes for you, you know. But more of this video is, it's not bad to be a square, you know. And I was a square. I still am a square, let's be honest, you know. I don't really think like most niggas out here, and I move different. I'm not like the stereotypical ass hood nigga, you know. The only thing I want to gangbang is knowledge, bro. I don't want to gangbang in the streets. I never was fascinated with guns or anything like that. I never had a fetish for firearms, my nigga. Like, because all of that shit doesn't really, I don't want to say gets me interested. I just don't have a real purpose with most of those things, you know? Like, selling crack, for example. Like, that's not me, bro. But, because I know I can't really, like, distribute that shit. And I already know the negative effects of crack. So it's kind of like there's no point of doing that shit. You know? So all of those things that non-square niggas, as some might call it, I can't really get down with that shit, you know? And I don't know if this is just the way like my family raised me, or if I had seen those things and witnessed like the side effects of all that shit. I guess it's mostly those two things. But like I said, man, I never really found much of an interest of those things, man. Like, cause to be honest with you, I don't really want to be looked down upon as a dumbass nigga. I've always wanted to be smarter than everybody else. And I've always wanted to know things, you know. Because smart niggas, you have to admit that they do their research and, you know, they're quick to check you on a few things. As opposed to a nigga that doesn't really know his homework or know his shit. You can't really get any reliable information from those types of niggas. And this is why the black community is what it is today. Like, you have most of these niggas that all think a certain type of way, and I don't like that shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't fuck with that shit, because it's, to me, it's just a bunch of copy and paste ass niggas, you know. As soon as you're different, as soon as you know, start reading books, as soon as you fucking learn the truth about niggas or just life in general, like, you're looked down upon and you're labeled as a fucking square, you know. And that's the shit that I don't really like. But maybe this is what God wanted me to be, man. Like, personality wise. Because even as a child, I felt like I was different from everybody else. It just took me time to really, I guess, face the music or come to my senses. Yeah. It took me time to come to my senses and realize I'm not the same from all these niggas. I'm not the same or even comparable to the average nigga. And let's just take my skin color out of the equation. You know, from a child, I've always wanted to learn about things. You know, I used to read a lot of books as a kid. And I started going back into reading recently. And, you know, man, I'm just taking it one day at a time. But anybody watching that's a kid, you know, that's going through what I've went through, that you feel like you're different, man, I would say don't take it as an insult. Take it as a compliment. Because square niggas, you know, or niggas that are smart, I would say nobody could fuck with them, really. You know, and when I mean nobody could fuck with them, I mean they're on a different level mentally, and they probably did so good in school that they got a degree and a nice job, and they're rich. Not to say money's everything, but you know, they've outworked everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I had to realize, recently. You know, because the women where I grew up, they didn't like smart niggas. You know, they didn't like dudes that were different. They didn't like niggas that would even fucking read, bro. As sad as that is to say, if you read a fucking book, my nigga, women will look down upon you, bro. And this is not something new. This is not something new. But kudos for whoever's been watching this for 20 fucking minutes. Or 21 minutes, I should say. Shout out to you, and hope y'all have a good ass night. I'm gonna just be pumping and dumping videos. You know, I don't have a distinct schedule, but whenever I feel free, man, I'll just put one out. But subscribe to the network, like, share, comment. You know, give me your opinion. You know, if you've been a square nigga, if somebody's called you a square, if you take that as an insult or a compliment, let me know, man. I would like to, hear people out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm out, y'all. Peace.